patient is asked to open the mouth wide without straining the TMJ so that the tortuous course of the inferior alveolar nerve becomes straight and lies straight in the mandibular groove, and this makes the landmarks more prominent. The landmarks include the mucobuccal fold present here, the anterior border of the ramus of the mandible, the external oblique ridge, the retromolar triangle as shown here in black as a depression, the internal oblique ridge, the pterygomandibular ligament connected with the lingula, the buccal sucking pad present here, and the pterygomandibular space present behind. Palpate the mucobuccal fold and the finger is moved posteriorly to contact the external oblique ridge. This guides us to the anterior border of the ramus of the mandible. Move the finger up and down 2 to 3 times where the greatest depth of this part is recorded, which is also called as the coronoid notch. Going medially, feel the retromolar triangle as a triangular depression. This is the area of confusion where many times early hit of the needle occurs, making us believe that we have hit the right point. Move more medially to feel the internal oblique ridge and then move buccally, along with it taking the buccal sucking pad. Retracting the contents more buccally makes the pterygomandibular raphe visible here, which is formed posteriorly by the superior constrictor of pharynx and anteriorly by the buccinator muscle. The index finger is placed on the posterior border of the ramus of the mandible, whereas the thumb is placed on the anterior border of the ramus of the mandible to determine the width of the mandible and the depth to which the needle should be inserted. When the finger is placed on the coronoid notch, a line bisecting the fingernail from the tip of the finger to the deepest part of the pterygomandibular raphe is formed. This area is called the mandibular sulcus, where the injection has to be made. This point may also lie 6 to 10 mm above the occlusal plane. The antero-posterior placement of the injection is 3/4 the distance from the anterior towards the posterior border of the ramus of the mandible. The barrel of the syringe is placed on the contralateral side, mainly on the premolar tooth. But this will depend according to the flaring of the ramus of the mandible whether to go more anteriorly or more posteriorly to avoid early or late hit by the needle. There may even be an absence of hit. This will determine that the needle is going too far posteriorly into the parotid gland and may hit the facial nerve, causing transient facial nerve paralysis. The needle first penetrates the mucosa, then the thin plate of buccinator muscle, then the medial to pterygomandibular raphe to avoid injury to the medial pterygoid muscle, which may even cause post-injection trismus. Then in between the anterior border of the medial pterygoid muscle and the deep tendon of temporalis muscle, it then reaches the pterygomandibular space. As soon as we contact the ramus of the mandible, we are not going to inject here. Rather, we will withdraw the needle 1 mm to avoid subperiosteal injection, which is very painful for the patient. So, insert the needle in the pterygomandibular space and inject local anesthesia lateral to the sphenomandibular ligament. There can be presence of accessory mandibular foramen too, as shown in this cadaveric mandible, where the mandibular nerve splits to enter in both of them. The upper one may escape the effect of local anesthesia. Therefore, the local anesthesia should be injected more superiorly than the conventional point.